and reading support, in short CLRS11. Now yes, your tutor is me, Mrs. Richter. Cell phone number is on the screen, 081 329 2953. Then please, you can call me if you have any queries. There's an email address, you can send me a WhatsApp, SMS, you can use the different mediums to contact me. And I will always be available for you, especially through the week from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. But please not on Sundays, if I may ask. Then I would also like to welcome you again to a wonderful subject where you will be enriched. If you really are going to make effort and get to know the subject, you will see you will be really enriched afterwards. Now, first of all, set out a plan and a timetable to ensure you scrutinize your IOL study guide. I'm going to emphasize the IOL study guide, as this is your major resource that you will be able to use and familiarize yourself in the sense that you really know what is going on in the subject. Please do not skip any units. There are 4 units and you have to scrutinize each and start early, as it is a really content-wise a lot of content in the syllabus. Now I will guide you through your different units and just explain the outlay of the assignment and the examination. But please always use your study guide. You may use for your assignment other references, but you must ensure that you always recognize them, give them the necessary recognition in your assignment. Now, general information, like I said, you may use other resources, and yes, you may always use an example to, if you want to give a fact and you have a good example, you are welcome to do so. But please remember, do not copy directly from a resource. It's nowadays so easy just to copy and paste. Please do not do that, as it will be, you will be dealt with, and it's really plagiarism that you are doing there. It's not your own work. Then you will have one major assignment of 100 marks, which you will complete and be handed in on time. Then you will have an examination that will also consist of 100 marks, and it will be in a time hour of 2 hours that you will do that thing. Please see this presentation also just as a guideline. We do not give scopes. You can contact me if you really struggle with a question, and as I've said, we will not just give you answers. We want to guide you to answer a question effectively, and by this we will give you just the means and the way or the information on how to deal with a question. Always read through your assignment. You have all the resources, like I said, and you can capture your information, but please again formulate your own answers. If you read something, just let it sink in for a few minutes and then you rewrite it in your own words. Then read the instructions 3 to 4 times. But if you are still unsure, like I said, you're welcome to contact us. Then please take note, option questions. The students struggle with option questions, and the minute they see or, they just stop. I don't know why, but please, I'm going to explain this with my hands. Now it can be, or can be in the middle of 2 questions. Now you either do the left one or the right one, or can be on top, in the middle, and then here again the B section. So or means I either choose the one on top of or, at the bottom of or. There you only do one. Or if or is in the middle of 2 questions, either do the first part or the second part. Now back on our notes, I've highlighted and indicated with color. If it's, for instance, question 4. Question 4.1 will have a 1.1 or a 1.2. Now I've indicated with blue, if you can see there. Either do the blue part or the red part. But that does not mean to stop answering your questions. You have to continue then with 4.2, 4.3. It was never stated that you only do up to or and then you leave the rest out. It happened a lot during last year, where the students then just stopped after they see the word or. They just thought, well, there's no indication, so I just stopped. And I don't know why, But please, a numerical means a number. If it's number 1 or number 2, then please just read. If it's between number 2.1 and 2.2, that means the option is only there. So if you see the or in the middle, if it's in the beginning a question and after the or, choose only one. And like I said, if or is in the middle, just do the top one or the bottom one of or, but then continue with your assignment. Please take note of this. And as I've said, question 4 has nothing to do with question 5 or 6 or 7. It just does not make sense. And if you are unsure, rather ask. Then do not start to answer a question and then scratch out, or rather read through your work. Read the question again and then you answer properly. It makes sense using your own words, but you can only do that if you really are aware what is asked, and then if you really grasp the content, then you can put it and it will make sense in your own words. So please reread. That's the whole thing of this subject. You have to reread everything. Then your assignment must also be in the correct order. Now previously we had it when it was paper-based, but now luckily it's online, so I don't think that will happen anymore. Now how do we do the following, the assessment? You have to obtain a 50% for your semester mark. That means you have to have, for your continuous assessment, the CA, I will just use it in short, a 50%. Then when you pass that, you are entitled to write the examination. Then with the examination, your year mark will be calculated with using a 60% of your exam mark and a 40% of your continuous assessment. That means your assignment. And then a minimum of 50% will be required for you to pass then the subject. Then the questions and examination marking schemes will be in accordance with the expected learning outcomes and the levels of thinking or the difficulty that's required by the verbs. Please students, for all the subjects you have to know your verbs. If there is asked, for instance, discuss, please do not just write a word. You have to discuss it in detail. If you just write the word, for instance, I'm just taking now a random word that you have to write, and you write library. What about it? You have to elaborate on it. Unless it's being stated, name a few things. Then you can just, write the words. And then, like I said again, do not copy from someone else's work. I'm here at the verbs. Now, mostly for children's literature, you will be asked to analyze, familiarize yourself with what is being asked, what do I really want when you analyze. Then comment on something or discuss. You have to elaborate again. It's not just words or phrases. Then compare. Normally I ask a lot of questions to compare. Do you have to look onto this and then you have to compare it with that? Please, again, that means you have to bring out the differences there, and then you can also indicate the similarities there. Criticize, the last one, is where you give a reasoned judgment. It can also be your own, what you see, but then you really need to know what is being expected, and you must always do it with facts. So if you have facts, you can criticize easily. Now, how does it look? Our layout of our assignment, I will always ask you to make an index. Index is like when you have a book. I'm just going to take a book. There's always an index page, if you can see it like this. Now you also must have an index page where you will indicate your introduction, your questions and your conclusion, and then definitely your resources. As I've said, if you use different resources, you have to give them the acknowledgement, and it must be in your assignment under resources. And please note, your study guide is very important, so always first use your study guide and then add on with other resources. Now, what do our study guide entails? It's got 4 units. Now Unit 1 is your theories of reading processes. Your number 2, they explain the importance of reading and literature in learner's development. Unit 3 will be about to explain effective methods for the promotion of reading skills. Remember, the subject is all about reading and learning support, how to support your learner. Then explain the assessment of reading in the pre-primary phase, and there also again your support strategies. So please familiarize yourself. As you see, the units are totally different from each other, and you have to ensure that you know what is going on with each unit. And like I've said, please, you cannot, this is not a book that you can just quickly read through and then put it down. No, you have to familiarize yourself and really know in depth what is each unit about. Then let us look at the study guide, the contents. I'm just going to explain something to you. Normally the students, when I ask something about semiotic systems, they give me the biological version of that. Please remember, this subject is about reading, about literature, and about reading support. It has nothing to do with biology or with computer content. So please make sure that you do not confuse yourself there. Now, a semiotic system is when you can be asked the definition, you can give examples, and sometimes I can just ask one type of semiotic system, and then you need to know what it is and also explain or describe, and then you must also be able to give an example. For example, if I ask you what is a semiotic system, it is like using multi-models. For example, it can be paper, digital things, computer-based, it can be a live presentation, it can be like a ballet show that you want to incorporate in your lesson, but then that means you have to combine them. And when you combine two or more semiotic systems, it can be a visual, it can be an audio when you listen, or visual when you see, or it can be gestural where there are movement, or like I said, a ballet. But then when you use those, you have to combine them to create a certain effect. Now, students struggle with this one, so I'm just going to give a short lesson explanation. So if I'm going to have a lesson and I want to show the children a short video clip, how I'm going to say, for instance, let's introduce sounds with them. And then I'm going to show them how the mouth is formed, shaped, and the tongue and the lips, so that you can use a video to show the kids, while you can play a CD with music with the sounds, that they can listen to that, and while they do that, they can also do some movements. So that is what is being understood about semiotic systems, how to create effective lessons by incorporating a lot of things, multimedia, to enhance your lesson. Then I'm going to discuss psychological needs that can satisfy a learner. Now remember, psychological needs, please, it's not about shelter and about food that they must get. What do we get from a book when I read? So if I'm going to pick up this book, I want to know what are we going to gain from this book. I will hold it up high like this, that you can see. That is just a book, but when we read the book, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Psychological needs is, what am I going to get from this book? So I'm going to put it down now, that you can hear. The needs that I can get from a book, it can be a moral story, it can enhance me morally, it can give me some vocabulary, it can give me more than just the basics. So in other words, it can give me emotional security, it can give me physical security, or it can help me to build ideas like fantasy. I can have an imagination. You know, sometimes when you read the book, you start to daydream about those books. This is what I'm talking about, psychological needs. And then remember, the way you interact, or a child interacts with a book, that will also give us an idea, because some kids, they don't know how to interact with the book, and that is where we are so crucial, that the teacher needs to know how to do it, so that you can incorporate that and teach the child about that. Now, this also helps a child to understand him or herself so much better. Then I want to discuss more about the need to develop and to maintain motivation to read. Now, how do we do that? It's very important that you need to know that books are also a way of social interaction. So if I have a book and it's interesting, what do I normally do? I share it with a friend. I say, you know what, I read about this book. This is social interaction with each other, sharing with my friends or peers. Now, you also, when you say a book is interesting, you will let the people say, okay, read this book. This is really a pleasure to read this book. Now, I'm not going to go into detail, but you can also look at the slides so that you know what else is necessary to develop and maintain motivation to read. And like I said, please do not just copy from the work or the slides. You must do it in your own words. Then I would like students to know strategies how to promote retention of what was read. Now, sometimes you want to promote retention, but you don't know how. So therefore you need strategies. Now, what are type of strategies? If I take my book again, I will hold it up and then let a child interact with the book. So in other words, instead of teacher paging the book, let them page the book. Show them the pictures. Show them what a word is, that you can easily assist them, that they know what to do. Then, at the end, let them also predict a little bit. Discuss the meaning of some words. But please take note, you as teacher must read a lot to your children. That will only be effective interaction if you read to them a lot. Then they will say, yes, the last time we had this word, and now they can pinpoint certain words to you. Then let them also read aloud. You can read to them aloud, they can do that too. And then you can also incorporate silent reading lessons. Now, allow the learners to be active. You cannot just let them be passive. Ask them, let them make predictions, like I said. Have you experienced this? Can you elaborate on this? Let them be part of that. And then create a play or art piece afterwards where they can all do their part. Now, mastering reading is another concept. Dear students, key areas that you need to know how to master reading is that you must know about word recognition and phonics, what it entails. I just made a short word here, a short summary, but you need to go now further and really go and study in depth what is meant by mastering reading and which key areas must I look into. Now, the key areas, that just in short, is the word recognition and phonics, phonemes, fluency, vocabulary and comprehension. Now you need to go and study in depth what is being expected of you. What must I know about phonemes? You all know it's the smallest part of a word that makes meaning, so please go in depth, and you may add an example that you know exactly where to go to. What is a multimodal text? Like I've discussed in the beginning, it's when you use two or more semiotic systems. But before you can go further, you need to know what is a semiotic system. Okay, and then when you combine that, you create a specific effect. Like I said, the video clip with the mouth, that the children can see how the sounds are shaped in the mouth and where the tongue must be. Now, like I said, it can be live, it can be paper, it can be electronically. There's a lot of things that you can use. Please familiarize yourself there too. And now you can also say, how can I use this? I've experienced now what is a semiotic system, but now you must show me how can you use that practically to promote your reading. What can you do? Can I maybe, for instance, have words that can quickly, by using a slide or a PowerPoint presentation, to slide the words quickly, that the kids can read that, and then also give meaning to them by doing movements. So think about that, and then you read more about that. Now, if you want to produce multimodal texts, you will be able to use traditional literacy practices in combination what the child must understand. the rules of the design and working with different forms and methods. In other words, am I going to use pictures, graphics, movement, sounds, whatever you are going to need, you will just incorporate that. Now please note, teachers need to plan the units of work that require the use of multimodal text and in an innovative way. So it must make sense. You cannot just grab here and grab there, but at the end it must be created, like I said, remember, a combination to create that specific effect you wanted. So with this, thorough planning can happen. Now please note, you must also use, the children should combine concrete experiences and print-based text with a digital text to make it effective. There's a strong focus on the teacher's modeling and scaffolding of students learning with all types of different things. It's the same like we learn. We cannot just sit the whole time and listen. I mean, you get bored or you won't understand because there's not really meaning to it. Now let's look at the areas of professional learning of integral multimodal. How will you now integrate it into your lesson? Now please remember, you must make a thorough planning here to get it. So the knowledge and the understanding about the reading and writing of multimodal texts that are delivered in different ways, like your paper, will it be a live or a digital electronic based? Now, the knowledge of your 5 semiotic systems is very important here. The visual, the audio, the gestural, the movements that are going to be made, or is it hand movements or body movements? What is important there? Now, you can use different multimodals to incorporate that, but like I said, you first need to know what it is. Now here I'm at the 5 semiotic systems. Linguistics, that means the language-wise, the sounds, what you are going to use. Visual, that what you are going to see. Audio, what you are going to hear. Gestural, the movements, it can be now with hand movements or body-wise. And then spatial, that means the area or the space that you are going to be utilized. That are the semiotic systems, but like I said, please go in depth and see what it really entails. Now, I'm going to talk about reading corners. Dear students, it is very important to really understand what a reading corner is. Now, I'm going to set up my classroom. Now, in the back of my classroom, I will find a little corner where I will maybe put a bookshelf, or I will have a small tent that, like in pre-primary, it's really something special when you enhance your reading corner by having a little tent, or it can be an old boat that you maybe picked up, a smaller one, or you can make one, or just those little apple boxes even, decorate them in little cars and put them at the back of the classroom. Then you can ask children to bring some books from home. It can be now magazines, comics, different kinds of things that they would like to read. And then you can look at second-hand bookshops, or maybe there's someone who wants to donate books to the school. See what you can use and build your own little mini library in your classroom. Then the kids, when they are working fast, they can go to the back and then they can get into the little boat or the box, whatever you have there, or tent, and just relax by reading. And remember, the small ones, they normally look at pictures. Let them look at the pictures. Let them turn the pages, that they can have the feeling of pages. Since we are moving now to a more digital era, I want you to really have a few books already now. See where you can get some books and keep them safe, that the kids can get used to that. Remember, we are working with their sensories, so that means the feeling, touching, all the senses, so they can feel the pages. Now, when you decorate this little mini library in your class, that is what it actually is. Then you can also have some posters, not too bright, not that they can still concentrate, but then you can also play soft music there while they are listening to the music. They can read or page through the pictures. Make a little reading corner. I want you, when you do your school-based studies, please look at some classes and see what there is, and especially their reading corners. I want you to take note of that. It's always better to have a practical aspect to see for yourself, and then you will know what your work is about. Now I would like to go to the emergent literacy, what we have, how to promote that, but remember there are types of this that you need to know what types are there. The awareness and exploration, where you are aware and now you explore things. Experimental reading and writing, the early reading and writing in grade 1, and then transitional reading and writing in grade 2, how they transition from grade 1 to grade 2, and then where you get them in grade 3, where they can sit independently and read by being productive, where they can do a little comprehension also by themselves. Then there's also intensive and extensive reading and skimming and scanning. Now those we as students do also most of the times, when you quickly scan through your work or you skim just to get the basic information. Now I'm going to look at phonological awareness and phoneme awareness. Please note, this is important that you know the difference between them, and you need to have an example to state your what you wrote down. You always have to have an example that will always emphasize your answer better. Now please, these two concepts are quite different, and yes, they complement each other, but you must know how. So for instance, if I ask here to analyze or compare means to see the difference between them, then you must also look at the similarities and what is different from these two concepts. I want to come to the EGRA tool of what the Ministry of Education has implemented. Now the EGRA tool has got different subtasks that you can look at too. But first of all, before I do this, I want you to also go in depth and see what the EGRA tool entails. It's a 15-minute little evaluation where you see what the child can do. It's an oral version, how you can see on which level the child is for their reading. Now the reading, there are basic concepts that you need to look into, like the vocabulary and what they are entails. So please make sure you know about that too. Now there will be comprehension questions too, so you need to really go and see what the EGRA tool entails, especially in the DJPE phase. Then I would like to talk to you about a story. You showed the book I have held up that you can see the story. Now any book has got an element, different elements. Now what is the elements? The elements entails the characters, what the story is about, the plot, the plan, the conflict, the theme. So in other words, if you are being asked what are the elements of a story, sometimes I see the students, they do not go into depth and they do not understand this. So please go and take a storybook, and also when it's discussed the characters, go see, read through a storybook and see, can I find the characters? Can I find the setting? Can you find the conflict? In other words, conflict is what arises to the main idea of the story. And then what is the plot, what happens, and then the conclusion or the end of the story. So please make sure that you also know what is being asked there. Then with this, I would really like to wish you a good luck with this assignment, and I think this subject is really something special. And please answer your questions. And like I said, you will never be able to answer a question just straight away. You have to read your question maybe 3-4 times before you answer your questions. And then if you answer your question, please use your study guide, the IOL study guide first, and then you can elaborate with other resources. And then please look onto the marks. If it's only 1 or 2 marks, you cannot write a paragraph up to a folio for 1 mark. Are you with me? So when you are being asked a question, always let you be guided by the amount of marks that is being asked. So as I've said, please contact me if you have any queries. You are welcome. Sometimes students say, but it's a silly question. That doesn't matter. I want you to know at the end of the semester that you are really equipped with the subject. And then please take note, if you are going to be a teacher, you will use this for the rest of your life, and you will always use the information. And like the school-based studies, when some students come to us, they always say, yes, they realized they had to be more on the ball with their studies. And with this, I would like to wish you good luck, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful year ahead. And please remember, knowledge is power, and that's the truth.